um, 1200 and work our way up.
Okay.
So a little different. Thought it'd be fun. Try it.
Okay.
See how it works. So yeah, and that way at the end of the year we'll be back up to 2200.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, so we could start the lesson because, I like to start on time, as you know. And we're going to talk about analyzing a position. And I know, oh, by the way, Irv said he'd be a little late, so no surprise. But we're going to talk about analyzing a position. Now, we've analyzed a position from a tactical standpoint before. But now I want to do it from a positional standpoint. Okay, so I'm going to get to a point that we can do that. And it's always nice to be fully developed, but let's start here. So, okay, in this position, we want to look for all of the positional considerations we can find. We can look at tactical considerations, but we want to see if there's any positional considerations. So let me put this position on our mini board. And we could talk about what you see right off the, just from what you understand, what's good and what's bad in this position, and what's any strengths or weaknesses in this position.
Okay.
All right. So this guy's gone and he's here. All right. So I'm going to leave that up there so we can always know that this is where we're starting. This is our starting point. Sudakus! Welcome back. Thank you. A lot of driving, my friend. A lot of driving. Yeah, that was scary. A lot of, not scary, but just a lot of driving. All right. Hey, just letting you know. I don't care. I'm letting you know though because you asked me about it. It did not log when you said you did Prime last time. It didn't log it, so that's maybe why it didn't show it. Because when I look at the subscriptions, it's not there. So you should still have your Prime you can use because it's not logging as being used. Just so you know. Anyway, so we are looking at positional considerations, Murph. So can you analyze the position for me? Let's start with white. Pluses and minuses. What do you see in white's position?
Well, other than the queen is just about ready to castle and be fully developed.
Okay, so the queen has to move before you could castle, if you want to castle queenside. You can castle kingside right now. Okay. That's fine. What else?
You do it. You got double pawns as a negative.
Good. Very good. And with that negative comes a positive. What is the positive?
You've got the open H file.
Right. Now, it's not fully open, but it is a semi-open file.
Okay.
Okay. So, in other words, you're attacking, he's defending. If it was open and this pawn were gone, right? If I go to the little board and remove that pawn, then it's a fully open file, and you would fight for the open file. Yeah, and you want to fight for that open file and see if you can make any advantages out of it. But yes, okay, very good. What else?
You've got a nice diagonal with the bishop.
What do you mean by that? And I'm going to keep doing that for you to make sure we're on the same page. What do you mean by a nice diagonal?
Well, it's a long, as opposed to a shorter. It's controlling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. So from one end to another, you've got the diagonal.
Okay. So let's keep going with our vernacular, with our language. You said it's controlling. How many squares is it actually controlling?
Well, black is countering because they've got the pawn string. So you really can't go on any of the squares other than the last one, and the rook would take you. So you can't go there. So they're kind of offsetting each other.
Okay, so let's think of controlling as also that black can't put something there without the bishop taking it, right?
Correct.
But if you look, black can put anything on any of these red squares, and if the bishop takes, it just gets taken back with a pawn.
Right.
But the rook doesn't want to go here because he would lose the rook for the bishop.
Right.
So vernacular-wise, I'm a very pedantic person, which means I take words literally. The only square that's actually controlled by the white bishop on this long diagonal would be these two, the green ones.
Right. Correct.
And so it controls the square because you don't want to put anything there because you'd lose the rook. That's the only piece that could go there. He doesn't control this square because there's still a pawn attacking it. But he does, he could be said to control this square. So a better word for you, I think, than control is attack, right? So you're attacking all of these squares that we've highlighted. But the red squares aren't good squares for the bishop to go to. So is your bishop on a good diagonal, or would it be better maybe, let's say, if it was on this diagonal in general? So this diagonal would have nope, 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 and oops, right? So this diagonal would be pinning the knight to the king. It would be a more, at the moment, active diagonal. Now, of course, the pawn could just chase you away, and you'd go back, and you would not be in an active diagonal anymore, right?
Right.
Okay. But, so yeah, I don't see this as a giant plus positionally because all of these squares have been taken away. Now, if I can break up this pawn chain so that my bishop has life, then that might be good. But right now, as it stands at this moment, without me making any inroads, then this bishop is not very good. I might want to make him better by freeing up some squares for my bishop. All right, keep going. What else do you have for me? What else was white? Tell me more about white. Tell me about this knight. What do you think about that knight? Is he a good knight or a bad knight? Is he a good piece or a bad piece? Is he well developed or poorly developed?
Well, he's not on his best square because the pawn's there.
Very good. What else?
He is defending the other knight.
Is it even under attack?
No.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
But he doesn't really have any place to go. His match going forward, his other moves are all taken by black because of that pawn string.
Okay.
So he's kind of limited. The only function he's really doing right now is if that knight on F3 got taken somehow or other, he can take back.
Okay.
Or if you plop that knight into E5, then he's got a place to go.
All right, so, but right now, this knight can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, correct?
That's what I meant by limited.
Right, right. Okay, and he can't go here because the knight's in the way. So he only has 2 free squares. So is this a active good knight or is this a restricted bad knight? I would call this a... I'm going to call this a... Sorry?
I don't say bad, I'll just say restricted.
Well, okay. Well, you know, we're looking for, when we talk about positional considerations, they are how good or bad are our pieces. And this piece is not good. Where he is not good. Can you make him good? Yeah, maybe if I can get him here, he can become good. But where he is right now, he's not good. This knight is good. Hits the center, well developed, out on the 3rd rank. This bishop, it could be debated, right? It does have a nice long diagonal. He can't be attacked by anything too quickly, right? There's nothing that's going to hit him. Queen hasn't been developed yet, so we definitely say the queen is not well developed because it isn't developed. And our king's safety is okay because there's nothing breaking through here anytime soon, so our king's safety is okay. But mostly the queen is not good, the rooks are not connected, and our knight, this knight is not a good knight. He might become a good knight later. He's not a good knight right now. All right, so we have a
white is kind of cramped.
yeah. So we have a bad knight, and we have doubled pawns, and we have a queen that hasn't developed, and the king hasn't gotten out of the way, so our rooks aren't talking. All right, how about black? What do you see in black's position, good and bad?
A lot of pawn moves.
Right.
Way behind in development.
There you go. Because the pawn moves is like telling me history. Currently, what we have is we have pieces that are not developed. Now, you know as well as I do, bishops can go pretty quick. But look, this bishop, out of all these squares, he doesn't have these squares. So that bishop has two options. And this bishop only has the one option. Unless he's planning to push and then try to get the bishop over here. But he still wouldn't have many squares, right? So which one is the... so notice that white still has his good bishop. Remember, good bishop is opposite color than the center pawns. So the black bishop was the bad bishop. It got traded off. But white still has his good bishop. Okay. Now black has two bishops, so obviously he has a good one and a bad one. Right? Okay, what else do you see? So, lack of development, lack of king, the king isn't castled. What else do we see?
The good bishop is kind of trapped where he is because there's no way out from him.
Well, like we said, he could go to one of these two squares.
Okay, yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of other than that option.
Yeah.
His bad bishop has even less options because in order to get out, you either have to break his chain in the middle.
Yep. Okay.
Or move another pawn.
Right. All right. So, if you were black, your plan would be finish development, right? Try to get this bishop to have more scope, maybe. And this bishop already is going to have scope. This bishop has scope when we want it to. Okay, what would be white's plan? So this gets to the point which you asked me once before. You say you do really good in the opening, or at least you do well enough in the opening, and you feel like you're stumbling in the middle game, right? This is very close to the middle game right now. And you should be, if you're white, you should be asking yourself, what are my middle game plans? What would I be doing? What would be my plan? And I can give you simple principled plans without coming up with what I really mean when I say plan, which is having a long-term idea of like, I'm going to attack a square somewhere and I'm going to build up on that square. Before you have to learn that, you don't need to, because right now you have basic things. You have a bad knight, make it a better knight. You have a queen that's not developed, develop the queen. You don't have your rooks talking, get your rooks talking. So that should be your plan, to do those three things for white. And for black, it's let me develop my pieces and get my king to safety and get my rooks talking. Right? Basic same ideas. Both players should have the basic same ideas. And it's just, can I do it faster? And can I take advantage if I can do it faster? So you have choices. Now you might say, I'm going to activate this knight by attacking the pawn chain here. Because if he allows me to take an knight, I just get to place back in here. Hey, chess wizard. So this is one option. If he takes, I can take back with the knight, and I'll have a better square for my knight, right? It's on the third rank. I can take back with the bishop. I can even take back with the pawn and have another semi-open file, and then look to push another pawn. So that's one way to try to get this knight active. Another way to try to get the knight active, and you had noticed before that he had a nice long pawn chain, I can come here, threaten to take, he take back. This knight still doesn't become active yet, but now my bishop has maybe more squares. But if I take, his bishop also gets a lot of scope that he didn't have before. Now, you like to say, if I go here, if he takes, I'll take back with the knight, and I'm a happy camper. But again, you have to be wary. If he doesn't take, you can't take, because then you help him improve his position. You will have a backward pawn, but you get his bishop to become active. So you wouldn't take. You might push. Chances are you just would leave it here and build up pressure, right? Bring the queen out, castle, get a rook over here, bring up all this pressure, and you only take after you've built up. You don't want to take prematurely and help him develop the bishop, because we just said, you noticed that a bad part about his position is that bishop doesn't have any squares. So if he were to take, you're happy. You could take with the bishop, but since we were trying to get the knight active, maybe we just take with the knight. Maybe. But the idea is that now if you look, you feel free already, right? The board is opened up already. So, but if he doesn't take, if you go here, you close it up and your bishop still has no homes. If you take, then this bishop now has, all of a sudden he has all these squares, and he didn't, and before you, well, not this one because your bishop would just take him. But if you take, then he still has this square, but now he has this square, and he has this square. So we would be helping that bishop improve his position. So remember, our job is to improve our pieces and to keep our opponent from improving theirs. All right, let me update. Both. I want to improve mine while hindering his development.
Okay.
Right? That's two parts. I could do them both.
Because I would likely take. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, no. Okay, so let's go look at it. Let me just... I changed my Wednesday to be... There it is. Okay, let's enable that. Okay, thank you. I noticed that I was showing the wrong Nightbot. So you're saying that you would take here? No, you would take here?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, let's just make an innocuous move, and you take. Now, let's look at the position, and let's flip the board. And if we look at the position here, look at white, look at black. No scope, right? Bishop has, can't go here. So the bishop has two squares that he didn't have from over here. Black and castle, but it looks like you might be happy with that. But the bishop only has this square. But if you take, which by the way, you were here, so you moved one. You moved one here, and then you moved two times. So now you moved twice, and how did the game change? How does black's position look to you now? Because this bishop had no life. He was cramped. Now the bishop has threats, right?
Okay.
So we gave the bishop life.
Have opened up your side as well. Does that not count?
Yeah, oh, no, you definitely opened up your side, but what did you free up for yourself? Let's take a look again. Does that give you a square for the knight?
The other knight.
This square you already had. Taking didn't make that square any better. Right? Taking did not change this square. You always had that square for your knight.
Okay.
How did taking make that square any better? It didn't, right?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay.
So you already had that square. So you're taking. Did it free up the square for this knight? No, it's still under attack. Can you put your bishop there? No, it's under attack. Can you put your bishop here? No. So the question for you is, right, from here in this position, how much better is this position for white? The only real benefit is now I have a semi-open file. But I didn't get a square for my knight. I didn't get a square for my bishop. But now he has two squares for his bishop that he did not have. And you didn't need to take to get this square for your queen. So no, you don't want to take. You want black to take. So when you make a move and you're hoping black takes, your opponent takes, and they don't, doesn't mean that you should take. It means you should keep waiting. And I could just keep building up the pressure. I'm going to just keep building up the pressure. I'm going to just keep building up the pressure. Why not? I'm in no rush. And I can just keep building up on this file. And I'm not going to push and close it up so that my pieces have no place to go. I am going to take eventually, once I think I've built up enough pressure that you're going to fall apart. Or I might never take and wait till you feel so much pressure that you feel compelled to take. But the point is for you to look at what are your strengths and negatives as far as the position. Okay? So we analyzed the position. The plan in my mind for the position would have been to activate the knight. You could do that by pushing either one of these pawns to open lines for your bishop, trying to open lines for your bishop, at the same time getting your knight active, at the same time attacking, and granted it's the head of the pawn chain, but you're still attacking the pawn chain. So those would be why I would say that I would find one of these moves for white. And even if you want to go here first and then push, I'd be okay with that too. So this will get the queen out of the way so you can castle. This would just start opening up the game right away. I'm okay with any of those.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not okay with moving your well-placed knight a second time. Why? If he lets me do this, great. But even if he lets me do that, right? Even if he doesn't do anything to stop me, and let's say, well, he can't do this because this knight would fall. So let's say he moves his queen here. It's because now he's protecting the pawn twice. I'm just going to make it up. And you say, great, I get my knight in there. And he says, go away. Right? What do you do now? You got that square. That's a nice square. You might go there. You might even come here with check and then see where the king goes. I mean, you got play. But my point was that if you move here and he chases you, you can't go back, and you can't go back to where your knight just took away the square. But in this case, I think you do have some tactical possibilities. But of course, he could just take and give you double pawns. Now you have two sets of double pawns. And we noticed that the double pawn was a weakness, we said, for white. We said that was one of his few weaknesses, and now we gave him two of them.
Right.
Okay. All right. So that's how we would look at that game. All right, let's look at a... Sorry?
I'm with you.
All right, let's go look at an LLNP game. All right. Like practice arena now. Just want to see if he has any... Wednesday's class. Let's go check his classical games. Trying to find a game to look at, something decent. All right, let's go look at this game. All right. Hey, C-Complex, how are you? Yes, you got it. Yes, it does. I made sure my glasses also matched the outfit. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to try to get through the opening moves and get to a point that we can analyze the position from a positional standpoint. All right, I always try to get to fully developed. All right, we're not fully developed. White has one more move to go. Notice that black is fully developed. Black has beaten white in getting fully developed, right?
Okay.
And that's because we had a lot of pawn moves. Black had much fewer pawn moves, only 3 pawn moves versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawn moves. And even with 6 versus 3 pawn moves, white's only 1 move behind in development. All right, but he is behind in development. All right, so let's look at white first. Tell me the pluses and minuses that you see. Looking for mostly positional considerations, but anything you notice. It could be tactical if you notice it. Yes.
The king is missing a pawn for its safety. It was starting with white.
Good. There is a weakness in the pawn structure. Very good. What else?
Most of his pawns are on dark squares. And the light square black pawn, bishop is gone. So he's trying to neutralize the dark square bishop, I'm guessing. That may be why he moved so many pawns, I'm not sure. Or if it's just, I don't know.
Well, we don't have to figure out why somebody did something. We just want to find weaknesses and strengths. We're not worried about figuring out like why they did it.
Well, it's sort of a strength because it limits his dark square bishop, so we'll leave it at that. The bishop on the A file is kind of out of the way.
You don't think he's going to be on a nice long diagonal?
Well, the king's already castled, so you're not going to stop him from castling. He's done that already.
Yep.
I mean, if you can get an attack on that side, then that limits it. But that's down the road. And he has his pawns on that side to chase you or block it. So that's here or there. He's got room to go places with the knight. He's got a bishop that's not exactly the other bit. The light square's in the middle.
So let's start over because I lost your thread. I didn't hear you tell me what was good and bad again. Let's start over. You said this was bad square, right?
Right, you're missing a pawn.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll agree with that. That's a bad square. Keep going. What else do you notice?
As I said, he's got most of his pawns on dark squares, so his light squares are weak.
Good. Weak light square complex. Very good. Very advanced. I like it. Okay, what else? Is his bad bishop behind or in front of the pawns?
It's behind.
Which one is his bad bishop? Remind me.
The bad bishop is the dark square.
Yes. And yes, he's behind his pawns. So his bishop is not that great.
He does have that diagonal for later. I'll give you that. You were saying that, but that's looking ahead a little bit for the dark square bishop.
Yeah, I agree. Still has to finish developing. We know that. What do you think of the knight?
Correct. The knight's kind of limited. It's only got one square to go to forward.
I'll agree with you. So I think the knight, and he can't go here or here. So he could come here.
Right.
All right, so the knight is not well developed. Is this bishop in a good spot?
For the moment, he's fine.
Yeah, but is
He's
he...
got a nice diagonal on the rook. It's a center diagonal, so that's nice. But there's still a lot of pawns in the board, so again, that's more of later on.
Okay, how about this bishop? Is he well developed?
No, I don't like him.
Okay.
That's what I was mentioning. He's kind of stuck on the side over there.
Okay, so we have two pieces not well developed. We have two pawns that are allowing for outposts. Right? Because these pawns are backward in the sense that no pawn can protect them. Now we could push them to clear one out, but right now we have two holes, and you noted them as white weaknesses. Right? Now, good for black is that there is no white or light squared bishop to take advantage of these two weaknesses. But as we see, the knight can hop in here and attack that pawn. The knight can hop in here maybe later. So we have some weaknesses. So we have pawn weaknesses, and we have pieces that are not well developed. So what would be the plan for white? To fix these things, right? Make these pieces better, maybe even make the bishop better. Get the queen off the back rank at some point, right? Develop the queen, and try to alleviate this problem that we have. All our pawns are out here and they're at risk, while his pawns have a lot of flexibility because they haven't moved yet. At least these back ones haven't. All right, so if we flip the board again, and you tell me what do you see for black?
Fully developed, king protected nicely.
Okay.
Dark square bishop has got a nice row to go on, and it's got two pawns in front of it, but the king's at the end of it. So that's the white king's at the end of it. So it's a nice
alignment.
Yeah.
My favorite word. Yes. Good alignment. What else? If you notice, we also have a rook alignment on the queen for the moment. Although that's a lot of pieces to get out of the way also. But still, we like alignment. Alignment's a good thing. If you look, this bishop is aligned with the rook, but this bishop is aligned with nothing really. Nothing of greater value. So this bishop is the only piece that white has that has good alignment, while black has, well actually black does have some, but has good alignment here and good alignment here. Okay, so what else? Is this knight good? This is a trick question. It should be easy for you to tell if these knights are good. Do you remember last week we went over how the knight gets better as it gets towards the 6th rank?
Correct.
And then it gets bad again at the 7th and 8th. So in the first rank he's not even developed, he's purely defensive. In the second rank we said he is purely defensive. So both of these knights are purely defensive, which makes them not good pieces. On the third rank, he gets to be offensive as well as defensive, so that's a good location. Towards the center is also good. Fourth rank is better. Fifth rank is better. Sixth rank is where we're at our best. And then seventh rank, we start getting bad again. We start losing our effectiveness, and on the 8th rank, we're bad. So the first 2 ranks, or the last 2 ranks, doesn't matter, are not good for the knight. We want the knight in this center area, right? We want him in the center 4 to 6 range, or 3 to 6 range, sorry. So you should be able to say categorically this knight is not good.
Right.
All right? How about this bishop? Right now he's biting on what we call granite, because he's biting on pawns protected by pawns.
Right.
So he's probably not that...
He's got the alignment. He's got a nice little stretch there of
I will agree he does have alignment, and that's a good thing. The bad part is that he's biting on granite for the moment. Right. So this bishop could be better maybe here, maybe. Also nice alignment. Or better, to improve the bishop is to clear out some of these pawns and get the bishop to be active. So black wants these pawns to go away. White probably wants this pawn to go away. Okay. So then again, we can make a plan without having to make deep plans that I'm going to improve my knight. I'm going to see about improving my bishop. Okay, these could be simple plans for both sides. And white might say, well, I'm going to try to keep this knight from being better, and I'm going to keep this bishop locked up. So what white did is fine. One, by the way, you didn't notice, this is just tactical though. Black's move attacked an undefended piece. So chase the bishop. And now the bishop is like down to, right, biting on granite, not really. That bishop is not going to affect the outcome of the game for a long time. That bishop is not going to be important. Okay, so we've made this bishop as bad as we could from white's standpoint. Now he still has weaknesses to worry about. He still has a knight that isn't good. His bishop is still stuck behind the pawns. Alright, so this move I have no clue, because what did we say that we needed to do? We needed to improve this knight. We needed to get the queen off the back rank. This move does none of those things. Doesn't improve this bishop, this knight, or the queen. Doesn't improve any of those pieces. Agreed?
Correct.
So I would not like this move unless there was some...
Right. Well, just looking at the black knight's got no place to go forward because the bishop is protecting the two square, the other knight, the one on the on 6.
Right. But remember, he's on a third rank. It's not as important that he has no place to go because he's in a good square. He's in a bad square. He's on the second rank. Right? So it's more important that this knight gets off the second rank, and he's got squares to go to. As if I'm black, I'm going to just improve my knight, and I'll be happy probably. Let me improve my knight. But this knight, I don't have to improve. He's on the third rank. He's not a bad knight. He's a bad knight. You with me now? So this one...
You were wondering why he moved the white pawn.
Yeah, why? Because that does nothing to stop the knight. And the knight's not... This knight isn't the one that black needs to fix. It's this one. So what does that do to stop this knight? How does that stop this knight from getting better? How does this do anything for this knight?
Well, if you're bringing down the next pawn, the G pawn.
Oh, okay. And what does that do for your king structure?
Right. Well, I don't know why he moved that in the first place with the king structure. So I can't defend that.
Well, I mean, if you're suggesting that he's going to then push this pawn, he has no...
I'm wondering, your comment, and I agree with you, why did he move that pawn?
This one, I have no idea. Right.
Right. Well,
But...
that's what you said. So,
right.
So I'm just trying to come up with an idea.
Okay.
That I'm thinking maybe it's trying to defend against the knight in some shape or form.
And sometimes it's that I have no other move, so I'm going to push an H pawn.
Okay.
Yeah, which we know we shouldn't do. So instead, he has this knight, this bishop, this queen to improve. That should happen before he starts launching on a risky endeavor, opening up his king even more.
Right.
Okay, that's all. Now, if you look at the little board I have up here, and we could see the pawn structure without any pieces except for the king.
Okay, I don't see a little board.
Didn't I? Oh, it's not on the screen I'm sharing. I forget. Oh, yeah, I got to figure out how you can see that without me having to mess up everything else I'm doing. It's a little tricky because I want,
I can envision this with just the pawns. Is that what you're
yeah,
getting at?
it's just the pawn structure, and the pawn structure tells you other things like where's those weaknesses, and that when you look at it without the pieces, the white complex for the white square complex for white shows so obviously that those are big weaknesses. Because if you only have the pawns on the board, it's pretty obvious. And then we get this move in shortly thereafter, and then we get this move in, and now we have more weaknesses all over the place. I'm sorry, we have weaknesses all over the place on white squares for white. And so the plans for black should become clear. Better my pieces and try to take advantage of the weak white square complex. That would be doing it from a positional standpoint. Now I put up on the screen, which you can't see because you're not watching my stream, and I put up the positional considerations. So the first one I put up is good and bad bishops. So black kept the good bishop, but white has been able to restrict that good bishop by not giving him any squares. And he has like no square. This bishop has only one square that he could go to without getting taken off. So this bishop has been restricted very nicely by white. So good and bad bishops. And this is your bad bishop, and he's not doing anything. He's hoping to maybe come to life later. Might put a rook here, push, get that bishop to life maybe. Maybe get the knight in here. That might be a nice idea because the knight is a bad knight. So good and bad bishops. Bad pieces in general. Bad pieces, what I mean by that, are pieces with limited scope. Hey, Cheskudo. So this bishop has no scope. Only scope he has. We do like the alignment. Again, we like the alignment. But all white has to do is sidestep, and you don't even have alignment anymore. So this bishop has very little scope. This bishop has very little scope. Right? So we have this one with only 2 squares, this one with only 1 square. So we both have bad pieces in our bishops. This knight is bad because he's on the 2nd rank. We want to get him out on the 3rd or the 4th. This knight is bad because he's on the 2nd rank. We want to get him out on the 3rd or the 4th. This bishop, like you said, is not bad. It's out into the board a little bit, and it could be nicer maybe. I don't know even where. Right now he's holding some nice key squares. The queen could be better. It could get off the back rank somewhere. But okay. So bad pieces, clearly bishop, knight, bishop, knight. Each player can look at how can I improve those pieces. So white has the opportunity to bring that knight here with this square in the future. Right? I mean, he can reposition his knight right now. So he can improve his knight's position. He can even throw this pawn out there and see if we get a trade, and then that would free up his bishop. So another plan might be to push the pawn, threatening the take, and but as we know, again, if you look, do we really want to take? Probably not. But do we want black to take? Yea, verily. And you've said before, and I chastised you a little bit when you'd say, I went here because if he takes here, I'm happy, I'm winning. And I told you, what happens if he doesn't take? And then came the chastisement because you were like, well, I'll take him. And that wasn't a good idea. And so in this case, if he doesn't take, then, maybe you just like start building up more pressure along that diagonal, right? I mean, you got this one already. So now you have 2. Now he has 1, 2, 3, 4 protecting. So, maybe I'm going to get another piece out there. I'll bring him over here. I'll get another piece out there. And then I can maybe get the knight and we'll reposition and we can see what we can do. So that's one idea. Another idea is to get the knight into a better position. And if he trades off his terrible bishop that's trapped and we have our bishop is getting a little better by doing it, then maybe we're okay with that too. Don't know for sure. But this bishop and knight and this bishop and knight should be our priorities in planning to improve our position. And this I'm giving you as principles, as concepts, or principles and concepts. Anyway, for you to remember is I need to make sure all my pieces are well developed as my starting criteria. That when you go, I don't know what to do, I'm in the middle game, you need to look at all of your pieces and see if any of them are not good pieces. And if they're not good pieces, then your plan is simple. Make them better. Okay? Knight can go here, here, or here, and the knight would be immediately better. This bishop, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So I might move the rook here first, move this pawn, maybe just one, get the bishop to be here, and maybe give it some chances to have life. Because right now this bishop has no life whatsoever. So getting the bishop to be happy or better is going to be harder than getting the knight happy or better. But that would be the plan. And then we watch the game, and we see that white ignored getting his pieces better, and black ignored getting, in fact, he took away the square from the knight. Right? That would have been one of the 3 squares we said for the knight. Now, why does black do this? He has a 1-move attack. It's like, hey, I'm attacking a pawn. Do you think we're missing the point, right? Wasn't the point that I'm supposed to get my knight and bishop better? Notice the knight and bishop are not any better. Notice that I can just attack. Remember we said this was a plausible move for white? Don't know if it was a good move, but it was a possible move. Well, look, we could do it. You can't take discovered attack. You can't take, you take. And so now it's like, yeah, we're going to sit here and we got threats coming, maybe even now here. Maybe here and then here. But the queen can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. The only place the queen can go is back to here, and then we get a tempo if we want, freeing the bishop on the queen, or the queen can come back here. And so if the queen goes to either one of these squares, aren't we better? We just got rid of a backward pawn. It's no longer backward. We're coming forward, and we're okay, right? So instead, white takes his bishop that wasn't doing anything and makes it into a tall pawn to protect a pawn. So now we're protecting a pawn instead of the other option. Remember, anytime you're attacked, you can move the piece, you could take the piece. No, I can't take the queen. I can interpose. No, I can't interpose. I could, but I'm not going to. I can protect the piece, and if I was going to protect a piece, I like this better. Alignment, right? Alignment, or even use the queen. Alignment. I want to get alignment. I don't want to back up my bishop. My bishop at least look like he might get active later, but this just makes him extremely passive. All right. So black says, now that I have two pieces protecting the square, I can plop my knight in there. What's bad about it? That knight was the good, well-developed one. Now he is attacking the pawn twice, but he just gave away the knight that was well-developed, and now he doesn't have that well-developed piece anymore. I could have taken with the bishop, by the way. Pawn would have taken back, and then he could have left the knight here for the moment. And he could have moved his queen here. He could have moved his queen here, looking this way. Right? So I think sometimes we too automatically just take back. Now the good news is we got rid of our bad knight. But the bad news is the bishop has to move. And we just undeveloped our bishop. And you know how I feel about undeveloping pieces. Granted, he could come here, maybe get a new line, or maybe even come here. But I think I might have taken with the bishop. Just me. So now black finally tries to activate his knight, and he's got squares. They're both protected, but they are there to at least attack. And then we get the tricky skewer, right? That's why he went here. So the reason he went here was tactical, not positional. Tactically, he saw that he could get a skewer. All right? So I'm only looking at positional, so I didn't even see it. Flat out skewer. And now he's up the exchange. Don't understand this move again, except that the knight, right, was attacking it. Now the knight, he doesn't have to worry about the knight. He doesn't have to keep his queen protecting the pawn. So there's that. And we get into a lot of ugliness. And they just played this pretty poorly, every way you can look at it. Anyway, all right. But that is how I want you to look at positional things. So bad pieces, good and bad bishops, bad pieces.
Can I give you an insight here?
Sure.
Which you're looking from your level of play.
Uh-huh.
You're looking to improve the board to get a better game.
That is what we mean by positional considerations, improving the position on the board. Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to teach you to do.
And I try and say, why would they do what they did? My thinking is that this is kind of a locked up game. There aren't a lot of open moves.
Right.
Because of the bad positioning. So the queen move by black was, he thought he had a free pawn, which is not really a big deal, but it's something in a locked up game.
Yep. Yep, and he's down the exchange. So I will 100% agree with you. All of these moves we see now are because of tactical considerations, not positional considerations. These are all tactical for the most part right now.
But the mindset here is the significant thing here. You're saying don't accept the game as locked up, improve it, or unlock it, if you will. block and try and do something with it.
Yep. And I want you to be able to identify the positional weaknesses and strengths in a position. Because like you said, I'm trying to look at it to see how I can better the whole position on the board, while at present, you and a lot of my students are probably only looking at tactical considerations. So at this square right here, at this moment right here, the queen moves away, attacking the pawn. Okay? Black says, oh, I can win a pawn. White, I'm very confident, White saw that this pawn was going to fall. And White set a trap. And traps by nature are almost always tactical, not positional in nature. Black fell for the trap, taking material, and White pinned the bishop to the queen. I mean, that's just a flat-out trap, right? Do you see it?
Yep.
Hey, Seven, how are you? All right, so that was purely tactical. This move...
If you go to d3 with the queen, do you get out of that?
Good question. Is there a way to get out of it, right? That's what you're always looking for. Nope, that doesn't get you out of it because you still drop the bishop.
Takes the bishop, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you just don't take with the rook.
Right.
You got two pieces you could take with. So, yeah. So he fell for the trap, and there was no way out of it. And then, now this is very positional in nature. He's going to block in the queen so the queen has less scope. Queen can't go here, 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 here. So the only square the queen would have would be these two after this move. So now he's trapped the queen. He still is tactically attacking this pawn, but right now Black only has a rook to attack with unless he repositions the queen. Two moves to get to attack with the queen. Meantime, White has three pieces that are still in attacking possible. Now this one takes a little time, but he still has more pieces to get out and attack with. So he's threatening to lose the exchange again for the benefit of winning a pawn. And I don't know what that move was. I have no clue what that move was. I mean, this was the simple move. Right? I mean, you just take free candy and you're threatening to win another pawn. And probably the game. Almost to the point where this might be the only move he has. And you can't get perpetual check, and that's it for your checks. And what do you do now? And you can come after the rook, but you don't have to, you know, White could just move the rook back, so you win. And he did win this game, but, so this is a very positional move. This is a confusing move. Sorry?
Yeah, he wanted to draw this game.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Insufficient material. That's just bad ending. I mean, right now, White should dominate this game. And he just gave away too much material. Oh, and so this pawn can't be lost. Now, the only way that pawn can be taken is by the black king. I shouldn't say that. That pawn can also take. But you cannot allow this pawn to fall. If that pawn falls, then it's a draw because you can't win with just a bishop. And right now, so Black, if Black can get rid of this one pawn, then Black actually has the winning chances and White does not. And you see, he ran after that pawn, which, you know, feels like you pretty much have to. You could come here, but then when that, you know, you can't cover both of these squares. So I don't know why Black didn't go here. This was just a very bad move, by the way. This is an extremely bad move. Right now, White has a one game. You take, no matter where he goes, you could step up and protect, and White should win this game. I'm curious how White lost this game. What are we doing? Yeah, that loses the game. Because now you go here, you have to take, otherwise he gets a queen, and when you take, the king takes, and the game is over. So all he had to do was actually just wait. Could have just moved here. Make black move. And if black moves back here, then you might be wise enough to go here. So even back here, white could have just moved here. Can't push the pawn, you just take. You have too many pieces. And it's black's move. He has to find ways to try to play. But yeah, you eventually want to protect this pawn and take that pawn and take that pawn if you can. Take everything, right? So right now, though, still, if black can trade off that pawn, he has the only winning chances because he'll have pawns. But this could be a theoretical draw because it might be hard for white to make ground. You can't push the pawn and let him trade. So you can never push the pawn. So what you want to do is try to get into a position like maybe the bishop is here and even back here, because that way if he ever pushes it, you get to take it. So if your bishop can be here and your king would be stopping this pawn, then you should win, because then your king will come over and get this pawn too. So when you think of it that way, you're like, okay, so I need to keep my bishop on this square. And from here, you're good, because this pawn can never push. But this pawn will be hanging until then. So that's your problem. So I can't go here, can't go here. I can go here, right? Yeah. So I can go there. And if you go here, I'm going to stay on this pawn and hope that you have to take it eventually, right? I mean that you have to abandon one of them. I think if you go here, though, I'm curious, because this is the threat. So let's say I go here. I think I win now. See, you could come here, but I can go here. I get to stop the pawn. I'm there in time. And now that I'm there in time, you can never push or take because of the bishop. You lose. So I think white could have won this game, but it's not obvious, right? You could go here, here, take a step towards the pawn. Now you're inside the box. Remember the three squares. So it's 1, 2, 3. Go 1, 2, 3. Can I step inside? I already did. So I'm inside the box. And when he goes to 2, I can step into 2. And then he could queen and I could take him. Okay. So now I'm here. I could stop the pawn. And then no matter what he does, I'm just going to run away. And actually, this pawn is going this way. I don't even have to run away. The pawn is actually protecting the bishop. I don't know why I'm seeing it backwards. So the pawn, that's because we flipped the board. So yeah, the bishop could just go here. Now you got to be careful. You have to be here. You can't do it when you were back here, right? So like when you go here, you know, if you push, you just lose it. And unfortunately, the king can't go here because the pawn is going this way. Can't go here because then you get the check and then you get the take, and life is over for black too. So really, right? It's white's move, I mean, though. It's white's move. So white could just start coming after the pawn. And this doesn't work. I don't even have to. I was thinking that the pawn was going this way for some weird reason. But yeah, now you can't queen. My king is going to take you off here. And then after I take you off here, you really have no place to go. You can come back and try to protect. And we can wait, right? We're going to wait. Let's see. Let's go this way. Keep your king out of that square. So now you can go there. I'm not thinking this through too well. Not thinking this through too well. I'll take away those squares. I don't want to do any of this. I just want to get my king here eventually. I'm sure I can. Anyway, all right. So, 1, good and bad bishops. 2, bad pieces. Make them better. Weak squares, number 3. We talked about weak squares. We saw a ton of weak squares because of all these pawn moves. So, right, weak squares. Identify them. Know what they are. Outposts for your pieces. Understand these are outposts for these pieces. Avoid giving outposts to your opponent and try to win outposts for yourself. And the last one is open lines. Bishops need open lines, so try to make open lines. Rooks need open lines. Make open lines for your rooks. Queens also like open lines. I can't draw a straight line. Queens also like open lines. Make open lines. So we're looking for open lines, outposts, weak squares, bad pieces, and good and bad bishops. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Let's go look at a game by... Oh, 7 is actually playing a game. So here's a game that 7's playing, and where our board isn't going to look as nice because, you know. But if we went back to the beginning of his game and just try to get to the point where they're kind of developed. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a tactical, right? I attack your queen, you attack my queen. And by the way, if you let me take your queen, then I get a rook, while if you take my queen, I don't get anything but a pawn. So, but as we know, this is like the most dangerous thing to do, right? When you're under attack, the most dangerous thing you could do is attack something of equal or greater value. If it works, it's awesome. If it fails, it usually fails miserably, and you're in trouble. So, don't know what happened. Let's see. Queen just got out of trouble, and guess what? Queen is attacking while this one is protected. But now the queen is attacking this square while this queen is still under attack. So now it feels like your only move is to go here to get your queen from being attacked and to protect your queen. Protect your bishop. So kind of a forced move, and now look, we're thinking we have all these ideas, plus we just did a discovered attack on your knight. Becoming troublesome the fact that you attacked instead of just getting out of the attack yourself, right? Attacking in turn may feel aggressive, but it can get you into a lot of trouble. Free candy. And it's just getting worse. More free candy. See all that? And that was all born of I'm under attack, but I'm gonna do something clever and attack my opponent. And why is this so bad? Besides the fact that I told you it's the most risky thing, this piece is unprotected. Now, we didn't even talk about unprotected pieces. I think of that more as a tactical consideration, but I can see it as being also an issue positionally. So I'm going to add it to our list. Unprotected pieces or squares, right? It could be a square. All right, so this piece is unprotected. This piece is unprotected. This one is what we call in pre. It's under attack. By the way, here's another unprotected piece for black. I mean, that was 3 unprotected pieces at the same time. By the way, he was unprotected here. We have 3 unprotected pieces. And we still have 3 unprotected pieces and 1 under attack. Now we have 2 unprotected pieces. So you can see why you could get into trouble, right? I've got all these unprotected pieces, and so this now attacks one of those unprotected pieces. You can't even take the time to try to attack the queen because the queen would just take the unprotected piece. And you have to see that threat. And in fact, what do you do to protect the piece? Maybe this is the only way that you try to protect the piece. And if you take en passant, you can take back with the knight and get your piece from being unprotected. But yeah, that's the problem. You have 2 unprotected pieces.
Now,
yeah?
Originally, this started with the white bishop attacking the queen, correct?
No. Which white bishop? Light square bishop, you mean?
Light square, yes.
No, it's not attacking the queen at all.
At one point it did.
No.
And then he moved the knight to attack. Didn't he? Yeah, like right here.
Light square bishop still isn't attacking the queen.
No, I'm sorry. The white dark square bishop, excuse me.
Yes.
back here. Go back.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we said. This was the problem.
Right.
White attacked,
Right.
and instead of moving or interposing or blocking, right? He could have interposed here, he could have interposed here, he could have moved the queen. Instead of doing any of those, he attacked something of equal or greater value. In this case, equal value.
You made another point here that is kind of significant, and that being that yes, you'll trade queens, but you've got to look a little further. The next step is white loses a bishop, you'll lose a knight, but the knight will take off your rook, whereas you
Yes.
won't get anything back.
Yep. I mean, if white were to have taken, black would have taken, white could have taken, black could have taken, and then white could have taken the bishop, but you still gave up a rook for the bishop. Now this one would be under attack also. But yeah, I'm thinking.
This shouldn't have been a decision made if you had taken the extra step.
Yeah, you definitely wouldn't do this. Okay, this you would not do as white. And as white made a good move, white said, nope, I'm going to attack undefended pieces, and you've got 3 of them, so I'm going to attack this one and then see what else happens. Doesn't even have to think it through too hard. You could do this to attack the queen, but then the queen says thank you for the free bishop. So yeah.
You wouldn't take the queen?
If you went here?
As white. Once he moved the knight to exchange queens, the black knight, go back a move. So at this point, rather than move the black queen or protect the black queen, he decided to attack the white queen and essentially trade queens.
Well, that's what you would say. I would say he's trying to trade queens.
Trying to, okay. But if you go a step further, after the next move, white's losing a rook.
Yeah, if white trades queens.
Correct.
So white's not going to trade queens because then he'd end up losing a rook.
Right, so it's white not to. Okay, I had it backwards. So it's white that doesn't want to do this. So this is actually not a bad move.
What's not a bad move?
Knight move.
Yeah, it's a horrible move.
Okay.
I already showed you why it's a horrible move. 1, you're attacking a piece of equal or greater value when you're under attack. You can do it, but you better make sure it works. And it doesn't work because white attacks an undefended piece. What do you do now?
Right.
Oh, here's a good move. Here's a move. Black could have taken this piece. Hey, yeah, ZP, I'm on it. Just start 2. Black could have taken here because now nothing is protecting the bishop. Remember, there's only one protector, one attacker. So if black takes here and white takes here, then black gets to take here and black's up a piece. Black just got this knight. Now, of course, white could take here, threatening this knight, but then the knight just has to move and run away somewhere. I don't know where because he is under attack. I guess he could move here. He still has this threat coming up. So yeah, this would have been a nice reply by black. So maybe black wasn't in such a bad way. I didn't like it because he attacks something of equal or greater value, and like I said, you got to only do it if you know it's going to work. I didn't see how it would work, and I thought, oh yeah, he attacks an undefended piece, so it's nice. This is probably not the right square. I mean, the idea is right, but the square is wrong because the bishop could take the knight attacking the queen. And then if you take my queen, I take your queen, and you're in bad shape. If I take your your knight, and if you take back with the queen, then I get to take your bishop with my queen, and I'm still threatening stuff over here. So yeah, this actually, the knight move isn't looking as bad. But again, does the queen have a better square? I don't know. maybe just go here, because again, undefended piece, right? So if the queen went here instead, yeah, you mean D2. Yeah, there you go, ZP. So yeah, if the queen goes here, now he's attacking an undefended piece, and the bishop, not that the bishop is protected, but the bishop is still attacking your queen. And now taking the knight doesn't threaten the queen, so therefore the queen still drops. So I still don't like this move, but white did not make the right move. So, sometimes, and we talk about it, right? Being aggressive, just attacking, went on a queen hunt and said, yeah, take me, I'll take you, and then I get a rook. And even then, we talked about it, that still might not work, right? I mean, you take, and which one do you take? I don't know. Probably, well, I'd take this one. Because if the knight takes back, you win the bishop. So I would take this one, threatening the knight twice, and the knight can't even take. I would like that. So if the bishop takes, the knight takes the queen, bishop takes pawn, knight takes this rook, not the rook in the corner. Then the bishop, did I do that right? So I said take. Oh, wait, something's wrong. Take. If I take here and he takes here, yeah, I guess your best, you could go here, but then you'd lose this rook. So you're going to lose a rook anyway. So go here, go here, go here, take here, takes here, right? So now I just got a knight and a queen and a pawn, and you have a queen and a rook. But then, see, then taking doesn't really gain you too much. So you get a rook, I get a knight. I get a pawn and a knight for the rook. It's close to equal. Very complicated. But yeah, queen to d2 would have been winning for white, I believe. Clearly winning for white. Attacking an undefended piece, still attacking the queen. The queen has to move or block, and then we get to take free candy and threatening to take more free candy.
So let's ask a question here, because this is at a spot for. You were saying you're going to have tournaments for 1,200.
1,200, guys. We are doing an under 1,200 rated tournament coming up. Yes?
This looked like, for beginners, a queen trade.
Yes.
On the surface.
Yes.
But it's much more, and as you've delved into, depending on how they play this, there could be a lot of different fascinations.
Yeah, like this one looked like it was a great move, but then we found this move, which would win for black, be winning for black, but black didn't see it, and instead black played this move, which seems like a natural defending move, and then white found another good move, and again, black probably still could have taken here, and if the queen takes, it's just a trade because you get to take another piece, and if the bishop takes or the queen takes, you don't get the free piece here. You don't even get the pawn.
No, with so many pieces on the board.
Yeah.
Leading to so many possibilities. As a rule or a safeguard or whatever we want to call whatever we use the term now, not rule anymore, but is it better to not try and do what he did and trade for something greater? And just move the queen out of the way?
Well, it's not a trade for something greater. It was equal. And yes, I think playing basic, safe, quiet chess is better. I think playing solid chess is better. I think moving the queen here would have been better. I think pushing the pawn might have been better. Because if he takes, you take back with the knight, and it's pinned, but, so what? And you're fine. I think he should have blocked or pushed the queen. And by the way, pushing here might have been trouble. Nope, he can't even get this in. And he could have used the bishop, but then could have taken. Queen could have taken back. This could have gotten protected. Yeah, there's a lot of things that could have happened. Still very, very, very complicated position. But this is also where they should have taken their time, right? They're playing a 10-0 game. And I have no idea how much time they spent on that move. we can look at it. Actually, it's down here. So here, he spent like no time. Immediate move. He did not spend. It said he went for. No, that's the end time. Never mind. The clock's not moving. Okay, that's just the end time. Hey, Gridiron. All right. So let me see. 9:15. Lesson goes from 8 to 9:30. So we're almost done. 15 more minutes, and I will definitely look at your what you're talking about. And you beat a 1358 player. Excellent.
This might be a game you may want to stick in a folder to show your, I won't say beginners, but even classes, because this one's 1400 that's doing this.
Yeah, 14 into 16. 1600 was white.
Right. Right. But the initial reaction is to trade queens. And I remember a few times early on where I didn't see that they don't have to trade queens. They can go do something else.
Yes.
Your queen.
Yep. Yeah, you used to always think, oh, they got to trade queens. I remember that because you used to even say it. I go, why'd you do that? You go, oh, queen trade. I'm like, they don't have to do a queen trade. Did you know that? It's not a rule.
Yeah, well, that exactly. But that's what I think he was thinking when he went there. He's like, well, my queen's under attack. I'm going to trade queens.
Yep.
So, but even if you're trading queens, it still doesn't look so good for there's other pieces and that's just comes with experience.
Yep, I think black is winning if white takes, though.
Right.
Yeah, I think black would be winning.
They realized that, and that's why they thought this was going to be such a quick move.
And this was better. This was better than taking maybe, except that we had this counter still attacking the queen. So again, if white had moved here, I think white would